Hi weaving friends, as you can see I'm at the warping board. I'm putting together several warp chains for my class that I'm currently working on, which is the floor loom Overshot. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but I'm just here at the warping board making the warp, and it's quite a long and wide warp, so I was going to be here for a while and I thought I feel like chatting to my people, and you're my people, so here we are. Actually, it's funny, the other day, my husband, he does all of my closed captions now for all of my classes, and he said to me the other day, I don't understand how you can do it with your classes. You don't have a script. You just get behind the camera and do the class. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I do all my planning beforehand for what projects I'm going to do. I do all my calculations, so I know what I'm going to do, but what my classes really are just sharing with my friends. And that's how I've always imagined that I have a friend or friends in the room, and that's any of you, and I'm just talking about what I'm doing, and I love what I'm doing, and it makes me so happy to share it. And the fact that I can share it with you and then you can do it as well is just such a wonderful thing. So while I don't think I'm particularly good at public speaking or talking to a camera or anything like that, it really helps if I'm just pretending that I'm talking to a friend. So that's what I want to do today. Nothing formal, nothing planned. I'm just going to chat, and I hope you'll be able to listen. I know some of you like my chatty videos, so if you do, I hope you'll stick around. So as I said, I'm going to be just continuing with this warp, and once you know what you're doing with warping, it doesn't take that much thought, so I'm okay to chat and warp at the same time. So the project for the floor loom Overshot class is, I've just completed the sampler section. That part is all done, and now I'm working on the project, which is going to be a throw. It's kind of a flexible project because it's what I imagine was that I want a really nicely colored and decorative throw on my couch that can just sit there and look good, but is also functional, so it can be put on a lap and that sort of thing. So it's not going to be really huge, but it is going to be a bigger, longer project, and I think it's going to be really awesome. So that's what I'm working towards right now. You may have already been through the Overshot for rigid heddle loom class. That one has been immensely popular. I was really surprised, actually. You know, when I make classes, I never really know what's going to take off and what's going to bomb. Thankfully, I don't have many bombs anymore, but the Overshot on rigid heddle has really taken off. It's one of my most popular classes now. And that surprised me because I have a lot of beginners who come to me and want to learn rigid heddle. And I do have a lot of students who can tackle more intensive techniques as well, but I was really pleased with how many people were willing to take on the challenge of doing Overshot on a rigid heddle loom, because it is a challenge, and it's been really rewarding for me to see everybody weaving their samplers and weaving their scarves, just how good it looks. And as usual, I get to see the designs in all different colors, and I really love that. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I do have to count a little bit while I'm talking to you. I'm just counting off my bunches. I'm actually just making one cross for this warp. There are several different ways of putting a warp on a floor loom, and I've found over time with my David Louet that I like just having one cross. So I make my threading cross at the top. I still have a cross, well, I have crossed threads at the bottom, which would normally be a rattle cross, but I'm just using it as a counting cross. So I count in groups of 10 to keep track of where my threads are at. And then when I go to take the warp off the loom, I actually undo that counting thread and that that cross doesn't actually become part of the warp. I'm just relying on only the threading cross. And that's the way that I've found works really well for me. Also on this board, this is an Ashford warping board, you might notice I have an extra peg. So normally you have, this is the starting peg right here, and this is a finishing peg, or this can be a finishing peg. You can finish up wherever you like, but this is traditionally the starting peg. What I found was that when I make my cross here, and I have the thread come right around this starting peg here, and then I take it to the loom, because I put my threads in the rattle upright, because the rattle for the Louet is on top of the loom. I find that this part here, this loop, kind of dangles down too far as I've put it around the apron rod, and that has always really bugged me. So more recently I asked my husband to put an extra peg in here, just as I didn't measure it or anything. I just thought about there, you know, I'd like that loop about half as long as it is normally. And so he put the peg in there, and now I'm using that as my starting peg. And I think that's going to be a lot better, because I won't have that extra length of loop hanging down bothering me. So there are a couple of other things I wanted to chat to you about today. One is, excuse me, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. One is that I have been talking to my members community, and they are just a fantastic bunch of people. They give me lots of ideas, and they also sound out ideas that I have, give me their opinions on them, and they just encourage me so much, because most of the time if I put an idea out there, whether it's for a new class or whether it's for a members only mini class or whether it's for a new pattern, whatever it is that I am doing, what I want to do, I put out the idea to them first, and they usually inspire me so much with their enthusiasm that I just can't wait to get started on it. So when I first started doing classes, and I had a fairly small community, it was really hard to know what people wanted, because I just didn't have a huge pool of people to ask like I do now. And in the members community, they're such a great bunch, because they're all really focused, really enthusiastic, and are ready to try anything. So having said that, I asked them recently, last month I released a new Etsy pattern, and it's the diamond stripe towels. If you haven't seen them before, I'll link to it down below somewhere. But once again, really, really popular pattern, which I was also surprised about, because I do have another towels pattern which has sold reasonably well, but just not anything like this one, which has really taken off. And I think there's maybe a couple of reasons for that. One could be the colours that I used. They're really vibrant colours that just really pop out at you, look really impressive and clean and eye-catching. And also the pattern is actually a twill, and I show you how to use 2 heddles to be able to weave that. And something I have noticed, particularly this year as more and more people take up rigid heddle weaving, is people are really keen to go a little bit further and, you know, try the 2 heddles and try the pickup sticks, and those things that have maybe in the past been seen as more advanced or difficult, but they're not really. You know, if you have the steps and you have someone to show you maybe how to do it, or the right instructions, that it's not hard, that you can, I think people are sometimes surprised by what they can come up with the right instructions. So anyway, some people are more visual learners. You'd know this for yourself, whether this is the case. So some weavers, they can get written instructions like an Etsy pattern and away they go, they're fine. And other people might be like a little more hesitant and they want to actually see it in action. They don't just want to be told about it in writing. Well, that's another thing. Some people find it difficult to follow writing. I'm actually one of those people. I find it really hard to follow written instructions, but if I see it being done, then it clicks. So anyway, I asked my members community whether they would be interested in doing a weave along with the diamond striped towels, and the response was very big and convinced me straight away that that is definitely something that I should do. So I'm going to do that. I need to finish this floor loom class first. My goal was to have the floor loom class finished and completely uploaded and ready for sale by Christmas. And then my plan was to hopefully by Christmas to have started working on the weave along, but to actually release that to you guys in January. This was also in consultation with my community, who felt that after January, especially after the first week, so maybe the second week of January would be a good time when, you know, after Christmas things have settled down, and after New Year's and all of those things that happen in the festive season. So I thought that January would be a great time too. So my plan so far, I haven't planned it out a great deal just yet, but it is going to happen, and I do want it to happen in January. I want to be able to have a little break myself over Christmas. I've worked pretty hard this year, and our son's coming home for Christmas and we've barely seen him at all this year, and so I want to make sure that I'm available and present for being with my family across the Christmas season. But I think I'll have time to finish up the floor loom class and to get going with the weave along in time to release it in January. I'll keep you posted on that, but I'm pretty confident that that will all turn out okay. So a little more about the weave along. It's going to be free for members of the online weaving school. So if you're already a member, you will automatically be enrolled in the weave along. Doesn't mean, of course, that you have to take part, but the option is there for you. The only thing is that anyone who participates needs to have purchased the pattern from Etsy. So I know a lot of you have the pattern already, and that's not a problem. If you're not a member of the online weaving school, there will be a small fee associated with the weave along if you choose to participate. And of course you will also need to have the pattern. So I want to make it as available to as many people as possible. So if you really want to participate, the fee for joining is going to be very realistic, and the pattern itself is 10 Australian dollars in my Etsy shop. I haven't actually run a weave along for quite some time. Don't ask me when, because I cannot retrieve that information just like that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really fun. And once again, I can't wait to see all the different colours that people choose and the styles that everyone goes with. Another piece of news is that I'm currently putting together my 2020 Weavers Gift Guide. So I had a gift guide last year as well, and I want to have one again this year because I think it's a nice idea. And they're going to be all different items on this year's gift guide. That'll be up on my blog hopefully this week, and if not this week, it'll be next week. So if you're looking for gifts either for weavers that you know or for yourself, if you want to get yourself a weaving gift, and there's nothing wrong with that. As I outline in the blog post about the gift guide, I've actually gotten myself a lot of weaving gifts this year in the form of books mainly. I decided during lockdown that It was a really good time to invest in a lot of the books that I had always wanted, and I did that. My shelves are now heaving with weaving books. We're so blessed. There are so many good weaving books out there. And they're so inspiring. So that's how I've gifted myself for weaving this year. And it's been really good, of course, as part of my own weaving education and inspiring. And a couple of examples are recently I have bought a Coverlet's book by Helen Jarvis. That one is awesome. I've bought Doubleweave by Jennifer Moore. Really good book. I haven't had a chance to really go through that thoroughly yet, but I look forward to using that because Doubleweave is something I definitely want to do a lot more of. I've also bought Candace Crockett's card weaving, which is really great because it's in really simple terms and very straightforward. I really like her approach. And just the other day, my pre-ordered copy of Rebecca Mezoff's Tapestry book arrived. So I haven't had a lot of time to go through that, but I've had a flick and a little bit of a read, and it's laid out really well, really clear, lots of information, great photos, really good. So if you're interested in any of those books, I can leave links down below for those too. So yes, back to the gift guide. That will be out very soon. And one last thing that I wanted to mention, just while I'm here, is I wanted to tell you about one of my favourite charities, because Christmas time is also a great time to give to charity. And my favourite charity, I've been following them for several years now. My mother-in-law actually told me about them in the first place. And that is a charity called Mary's Meals. I'm going to leave you a link down below. They actually have a documentary which is really beautifully filmed and explains a lot and shows a lot of what they do. The basic idea of Mary's Meals is that they go into poorer countries and they provide, with donations, they provide food in a school setting. So the idea is that the child is attracted to coming to school because they'll get a meal there, and then once they're in the school they can really focus on their learning because they're not hungry. I think it's a really amazing initiative, and I think that it is a newer charity. I'm not sure how long they've been going, let's say under 10 years, but I think as the years go on and these children who have benefited from the meals grow up, we're going to see just how huge a movement like this can be in changing the life of someone who is stricken by poverty. So I love that. I love Mary's Meals. I love how transparent they are about their funds, where the funds go, how much go to the food, how much goes to administration, all of that. It's all on their website and it's all there plain to see. They're very transparent with all of that, and I think that's really essential for any charity these days. And then once they have the donations and the food is actually cooked on site by volunteers. So it's a really wonderful charity that we support regularly and will definitely be doing so at Christmas time. They do have a special Christmas appeal which you can see on their website, but I'm going to leave all the links to that down below. They're expanding into other countries as well, which is really great, and I think they're just having a really positive influence on the world. So I just wanted to tell you about them, and I hope that you'll go over and check them out and maybe leave them a donation as well. Okay, well, I think I'm almost ready to take this chain off the warping board, and so that means I have to concentrate and put in my ties properly. So I think it's time for this chat to come to an end, but thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed this informal style of chat. Sometimes it's good to just be able to get a video out there without having to think about it too much, so I hope that's something that is beneficial to you. Wherever you are in the world, I'm thinking about you, praying for you, whatever your situation is. Know that there's always hope and something amazing is probably just right around the corner. Until next time, friends, happy weaving.